Okay, people, welcome to the very first Leicester Lives podcast in association with Nolita Coffee NYC, quality New York coffee for your home, delivered directly to your home. Now, this is our very first show, and as such, I want to ask everybody a couple of favours. If you enjoy what you hear, if you enjoy what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, leave us some feedback, because for yourselves, it will take a moment, it won't cost you a penny, but it could make an important difference to the future of this podcast. Now, like I said, it's our very first show. So to introduce myself, my name's Justin, JB, as a lot of people refer to me as. I'm a local business person, and some of you might be listening to my voice and you might be thinking, well, he doesn't sound like he's from Leicester. Well, originally I'm not. Originally I'm from the south of England, Dover predominantly. But I've been in Leicester since I was a late teenager. Leicester's very much my adopted home, and the people of Leicester very much my adopted people. But look, you're not here to talk about me or my story. We're here to talk about the stories of my guests. So in front of me this evening, an old friend of mine, Darren Smith, better known as Daz Smith, better known still as Coalville Daz. Like I said, somebody I've known for a very long while, and he's fairly synonymous in these parts for two reasons. One, his involvement in the football casual scene, and secondly, his involvement in the local music punk rock scene. I know a little bit about the first, I don't know an awful lot about the second. Daz, thanks very much for coming along and being our very first guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Justin.
Not a problem,
Absolute
Daz.
pleasure.
Good man. Good man. Well, as always, every podcaster says it, but let's roll it all the way back to the start. Tell me about your early years growing up in northwest Leicestershire.
Northwest Leicestershire, yeah. I've got no horror stories as such. I had a pretty normal upbringing, classic example of the only child, fantastic parents, no dramas really, you know, nothing really to report on that scene. Went to school, the normal procedures, bosh, left school with nothing whatsoever. O-levels and A-levels, not a single one. But in all fairness, I knew where I was heading at a young age. I was going down the pits. My dad was a coal miner, my granddad was a coal miner, uncles was coal miners. That's where I was heading. So I never really...
I think so many people, Daz, these days, they don't actually associate Coalville with the mining industry as people did back in the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what you've got to remember as well, it was a very good job. It was certainly in the 80s when I left school, it was a good job, and it was hard to get a job down the coal mine. You had to have someone on the in. So for that reason, I wasn't interested at school. Like many of my age, we wasn't that bothered about school, and I got that added bonus. I knew where I was going. I got a very good job coming, good pay. So yeah, at 16, I was down the hole, as they say.
And what sort of percentage of people in Coalville entered the mine?
Right. Prior to my sort of era, I'd say 80% of the people worked down the mines, but it wasn't quite like that because the mines were shutting, and then obviously in the end, Mrs. Thatcher shut them all, didn't she? So then I had to rethink. I think I was down Ellisdown pit 8.5, 9 years, and it closed. So that was a major readjustment for not just me, all the lads like me. Because I was on good money.
I was going to say, what was the
money
like?
Oh, it was real good money. Real good. You could always tell if you were out and about on a Friday night, you could tell the miners that were out because they'd all have the XR3i convertibles. And you know what I mean? There were no crumbling Escorts and Cortinas there. So it was really good money. It really was. So all of a sudden, and I'm bang at the football then, by the way, I'm going home and away. So I need that. You need that one. I just bought an house as well. I was still living with my parents, but me and Carol had bought an house. So that would be after the European Championships in Germany. Was that 88? 88, yeah. So it was 88 we bought the house. So all of a sudden, I've got to make a massive decision. I've got to get another job, on sort of that money. Well, I never achieved that, the latter. I couldn't get that money. But somebody said to me, you'll remember me working there anyway. Somebody says, I can get you a job at the slaughterhouse. I thought, the what? What on earth can I do at a slaughterhouse? Well, and I thought, you know what, it's a stepping stone. A bit of money coming in. And I worked there for 17.5 years, till that shut. Must be something with me. And I've shut everything I shut. You know
the vegan revolution now.
So yeah, and that took me right through. I was married then, obviously. I got my child, my son. But you just get on, you just find another job, and things are getting a bit easier, you know, and just I bobbed about for little jobs. I even run my own pub, as you know, for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that was...
So just going back to Carol, when did you first meet Carol, your wife?
That's a massive story in itself. I was 15, she was 14, and we're still together, obviously. We've just had a 33-year wedding anniversary, but we've been together for 40,
Congratulations.
Yeah, 40 odd years. So, and really, we'll move on to whatever you want, but without her by my side, things don't happen. It's simple as that. You know, I've got a very understanding wife, in a lot of ways. But I will say that like, the punk and the football it sort of come parallel with each other. About 77, the punk explosion absolutely had a massive effect on me. It really did. And I was also going the football then with my dad. And there's another subplot. I've got to get at him because I know people will rib me for this. But I'm going to have to put it out there. My dad was a Leicester season ticket holder, so you generally do the same, don't you? And I did. We went, when he could take me, he took me. But also, I got a penchant for Stoke City.
I never knew that.
Yes, there's not many do, but I've got to tell them, I've got to put it out there, because somebody will. And, my dad was furious with that, furious. But he used to take me. If Leicester was away, my dad didn't go away, only the Midlands clubs. And if he could get tickets, we'd go to Stoke. We wouldn't, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, probably. And I did that for about 2 or 3 seasons, really. And
Good ground, the old Victoria.
The old Victoria ground. And I don't know, and my dad never knew, why. Because most kids of my age, it was Liverpool, it was Manchester United. Not Leicester or Stoke. Obviously Leicester, because that's where we're from. But Stoke, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I know they won the League Cup in 71. And my dad says it might have been that. But it didn't last too long. And then when suddenly you get... I think it was 78, because I was still dressed as a punk, a donkey jacket, my Doc Martens. So I'd be 13. I went to my very first away match without my dad. And it was Ipswich, and I jumped on the Bancroft and Powers supporters bus from Coalville. People from Coalville will know all about that. There was the Reliance Supporters Club, and then there was the Bancroft and Powers, or as we affectionately known it, the Bankies bus. And so we went on there. I was 13 years of age, with just lads from school. Oh, mate, that was like a massive adventure, a massive, massive adventure. And I knew then pretty much that's what I wanted to do, forever.
Who did you go with on that bus?
Do you know what, I can't remember, a lad called Gary Coleman. I do remember Gary. And Gary still goes to Leicester to this day. I don't see him anymore occasionally. And there's another lad as well, but I don't remember his name, to be honest. I know Gary Coleman was one of them. And he still, like I say, him and his brother still go home and away. I'd very often bump into him. But he just knew then, God heavens, this is fantastic.
And I've got to ask you, Daz, what was the score on that game?
3-2, we lost 3-2. Yeah. A bit of mither outside as well, but obviously nothing to do with us, obviously. We were just silly little kids, but I knew then, like I say.
Yeah. Portman Road, another good old football ground.
Yeah, we'll be going again this coming season, won't we?
Exactly.
But it's like you say, it's one of those grounds. I always like to go Portman Road. Do you remember going in the with the what did we go dressed as?
Harry Christian.
Harry Christoph, yeah.
I think it's on YouTube. But
I think it's about somewhere.
No, good memories, Daz. Good old ground.
Listen, fantastic. And like I say, I've never changed. I've kept going with the football. I still go every game home and away, other than the banning years, of course. And punk rock, I'm still going to punk gigs, and I'm 58.
See, even when we first knew each other, I never knew about the punk rock connection.
No.
Only when you got...
Yeah, well, you
not
know
back
what?
into it, because you've always been
I've always been into it, but I think, again, to run parallel with that story, when I first left school and I was straight down the mines, so I'd be 16, we were getting service buses in from Coalville for home games. We still weren't going regular away games. We'd pick up a few games, obviously. And then my mate, Edgog, remember Edgog? Edge, I bet you can, yeah. Well, he was a year older than us.
Yep.
He got a car. So he was our our driver, and we started going further afield. We were going to London, we was going to Sheffield and places like that, and he was our driver. So then it opened another.
And what car would that have been, Daz?
Right, you know what? I know it was an Escort. I know it was definitely an Escort, yeah. But we went all over, and it was, again, and I keep using and repeating that word, the adventure, but it was. For us kids going, especially for Coalville kids, we're just going into London, it was fantastic. And to be fair, I haven't lost that buzz, and I'm 58 now, because if you do lose it, then you stop going, and I still love it, honestly, you know, for a multitude of reasons, but I mean...
So at that time, you're very much starting to go to football with the lads from Coalville.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just Coalville at this stage?
Yes, at this stage, yeah, most definitely.
And of course, you've got the groups from Leicester.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
also got some other splinter groups from Hinkley.
Of course, yeah.
Let's
yeah.
face it, different parts of
Different
Leicestershire
parts,
haven't always seen eye to eye.
No.
Different with Leicester and Coalville.
Yeah, Leicester and Coalville, I can honestly say, I was always looked after in Leicester, and I was always respected, and likewise for the rest of the lads from Coalville. Like you say, unlike some of the areas, but I think with us from Coalville, we just come and sat back and just did what we were asked to do, really. You know, and like the early days, we weren't even... I wouldn't say we'd stumble into the lads. We probably looked to be meeting up with the lads in the real the early days. But you've got to remember as well, I was still dressed as a punk. So, although...
So what would that have entailed then?
That right in the day. Say we'll go back to when I was say 13. It would be the old lot, the old bondage trousers and everything. I'd cool it down on a match day, obviously, just to jeans, Doc Martens.
A bit like the pair you got on today, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I say, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed, but it did. And then I went the skinhead route. I thought that's more acceptable down the football, because I go back to that Ipswich game. There was a lot of skinheads around. I mean, 77, 78, there would have been. So I thought that's more acceptable. And I was soon discovered it wasn't acceptable. I mean, this is the casual movement has just kicked in, shall we say? And I did look around and think, and I know I wanted to gain access to this. I know I did. I'm not kidding myself, because I was on quite a bit of money, as I say. So I decided to go for it, and went down to Torquay, me and our car, and borrowed my dad's car. So I'd be 17, 18 probably, and bought some Feeler, Pringle, Farrers. My hair started to grow. I got quite a lot of stick back in Coalville for this, obviously, because it was still relatively... The casual scene had not nowhere.
Well, it was a completely different way of dressing,
Of course it was, yeah. And
it's so easy now, people.
Yeah, that's
everybody's
right.
into designer labels.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to look good, but
it wasn't like that then. No. It certainly wasn't. And but I knew it had to be. We had to go that way, and we all did. We all did. I was probably more extreme in the punk than the others, you know, and we just decided we'll be all right here, and that's it. It was rite of passage, I suppose. I mean, it wasn't quite as easy as that, obviously. You have to do your little bits and bobs. I remember Arsenal, I wouldn't know what year it was. They all turned up at the Clock Tower. And it's probably the first time I've been involved, really. And they had a right little mob, Arsenal. And we just had to do what it was spontaneous. I mean, it was, weren't it, back then anyway. And I say get stuck in. I don't think we actually did, but we didn't leg it, so to speak. And people start...
I mean, I think it would be so hard for people to understand now that there used to be so much trouble at the Clock Tower on football days.
On football days, yeah.
With rival football firms coming down, and Leicester would literally have lads just hanging around the Clock Tower waiting for it to happen. I mean, you look at the Clock Tower now, it's a different place altogether.
The whole thing's changed, isn't it? I mean, and then another one... I think it might have been the season after. You'll have to forgive me, so I'm not very good with dates. But it was Bradford away, and us in Coalville. We'd got 2 cars going up because we were still travelling independently. We never went with anybody else. We just done our own thing, but we did occasionally bump into the lads, shall we say? And I don't know if I'm allowed to name names, but Glace, God rest his soul. He was a big influence on me, to be fair. He pulled us from Coalville into it a little bit, to be fair. He seen we was good lads, sort of thing. And with Bradford, we were. It was after the game. We were sitting in traffic. I'll never forget it. 2 carloads of us. and all of a sudden it's going off. And I can see Glaze, who I don't know personally, but I know him well enough to get out the car and we've got to give these lads a chuck on sort of thing. Nothing really happened, a bit of argy-barging running up and down the street. It was a big hill, I remember it, because we were all knackered when we got to the top of the hill. But then I think it set the seed, really. It certainly, and from then on, really, it was, full steam ahead, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Glaze was an infectious character anyway, wasn't he?
Absolutely fantastic. The main man for me, he really was. Sadly missed, Justin, and he's sadly missed.
Very
It was
much
good
so.
character as well, it was funny.
Definitely
It was as deep as the ocean, mate, weren't he? You know what I mean?
Definitely was. Knew how to earn a pound note as well.
Oh, yeah, he loved the pound note, didn't he? Yeah, like I say, he was very instrumental for me and the rest of the Coalville boys, yeah.
So how long would you say it took for you to sort of be fully accepted? I mean, obviously it's yourself, but it's also the other lads.
Yeah, it wasn't about me then. It clearly wasn't. It was about the whole group. So in the end, there was probably 3 or 4 of us, and I think we was accepted 4 or 5 seasons down the line, and I got nicked against Forest in 83 or 84 with Lee Carter, another one, God rest his soul. Some guy, ain't there? And your name's in the paper and all things like that. So that's another one-upmanship, because it isn't really. It's something to be proud of, but it was then, you know. And he said, "Oh, Daz has been nicked and that." So that's another little way in. Did you know what I'm saying? In many ways, I'm sure I was craving to get there anyway. I'm probably kidding myself now.
You think about the Leicester Mercury. I mean, everybody bought the Mercury. Everybody read.
It was massive in them days, obviously, Justin, wasn't it? You know, it was your only way of knowing anything locally, wasn't it? Really. So yeah.
So you're still going to away games in the Escort with the other Coalville lads.
Yeah, and it didn't really change for a few years. We just knew where the lads would be, and we made sure we were there, as simple as, you know. Especially London games, we'd jump on the train with them, and it just went on like that for many years, really. We'd always go independent. We always did, really, until the 90s, which you remember. Things changed with the football scene in the 90s, as everybody in the scene knows. Mobs got smaller, the dance and all that, and that's been documented a lot of times. But Leicester, it didn't really affect Leicester, I didn't think. A lot of the older lads, the original baby squad, shall we say, they sort of dropped out anyway. I thought they dropped out. And then there was the 90s sort of kids. That's my involvement started then, basically.
I think you're right, Daz. I mean, I've always thought, it's only a personal opinion, but I think it will be shared by you. The football scene ended with the ecstasy scene in the 1990s.
Yeah.
I think it's exaggerated.
Definitely.
I think there were people looking for an out, shall we say. It became an out.
I would say so.
Some people, it just wasn't for them.
Yeah.
Some were maybe more into the night out. They were more into the rave scene. They're more into the drugs. I wouldn't say, like you said, it changed the dynamic as much as some people.
No, definitely not. Like you say, I think people were looking at a way out probably anyway. They got families and, you know. But the 90s for me was a lot, I'm not saying it was better or worse in any way, shape or form. It was more exciting for me. I can remember us coming to West Ham once, Justin, on the train. There was only about 30 of us, probably 40 tops. And we had to run the gauntlet that day, but there was something quite exciting about it, you know, going to West Ham. Although West Ham probably weren't what they were 5, 6, 7 years previous, but it was still a daunting place to go. As many places were, you know. I mean, I've had my biggest good hidings at Scunthorpe and Plymouth, both on Tuesday nights. You know, stitched up and all the rest of it. So you're not. I don't like this who's the best firm nonsense, because there is no best firm, because on the day,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely, you know, I think one thing that hasn't been great, there's been a proliferation of books. People claim we're the best, they're the best. Nothing happened. We've always life isn't like that.
It is not like that.
We all know life isn't.
And I always say this: if you've never been done, you've never been kicked up the arse, you ain't been doing it properly, have you, really? Do you know what I mean? Because it's inevitable you're going to get your head kicked in, isn't it? Really, it's inevitable. You know, you just, and we all have. And some of the lads, I mean, there's a couple of lads that I wouldn't name them anyway, but they've said, I've had enough of this. This is mental. We're going to get killed one day. And they decided to pull out.
Well, do you know what? I sometimes think, you know, looking at the 80s, looking at the 90s, some of the things that used to happen around the football scene, I'm surprised there weren't more deaths.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, because them 90s, the late 80s and 90s, they were quite brutal, weren't they? I mean, 89 Chelsea down here, I mean, I've said about that in one of the books I've been in. That was just carnage. It really was. It was horrible, to be fair. It was horrible being part of it, you know, but like you say...
Well, I remember that game. I mean, there was violence, around the old Filbert Street ground from 1:30
Oh,
onwards.
yeah.
3 o'clock Saturday kick
Before,
off.
during, and after.
That's
really,
right.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
Yeah.
it was just a war zone.
Oh, it was,
the ground was a
yeah.
war zone.
Yeah.
When I was
Police had lost control that day.
100%.
They really had lost control, which you didn't see many times, really, to be fair. I never did.
And as we said before, if that had not been the day...
Yeah, the Hillsborough, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, yeah.
That would have been... I mean, obviously, it was high profile in the Mercury.
Yeah,
sure
but it would have got national press, I'm sure, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Chelsea were on their way back up, weren't
Yeah,
they? To the old First Division.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Remember, they wore that
Red hot
red and white
sunny
stripe kit.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Speedy was playing.
God heavens, that takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
Definitely.
89.
89.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, it's great times, everything. Following a football club, following your team, it's magical, it really is. You know, and like I say, I still feel that way now. Else I wouldn't do what I do, week in and week out. It costs you a lot of money. Make no mistake about it, it costs you a lot of money. I mean, we've progressed now from Barrows Travels. We're obviously on PM Tours these days.
Mine's purely an international travel company these days, Daz, as you know.
Oh, some great days there, mate, weren't they, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
So you're in the 90s now.
Yeah.
The Coalville lads, they're integrated with the rest of the Leicester lads now.
Yeah, pretty much. And
No animosity?
No, not one bit. Far from it. On the contrary, actually, you actually felt you're part of it all, really. And we was, really, all through. And obviously, a few banning orders get chucked in the 90s, and I think I got 2 in the 90s.
So what would you say were the main differences that you saw maybe from growing up in the 80s, starting to go to football?
Yeah.
The crowds are sparse, but
Yeah.
the amount of trouble is probably as high as it ever was.
Yeah, I think it was. And I don't know the difference, really, Justin, because was it was all new in the 80s, probably? Was it all new and it was shocking? And in the 90s, I wouldn't say it had become more acceptable. That's probably the wrong word, really. There's a better word. But it was... People expected it, didn't they, really? And it did change things, the police aspects on it. Everything changed. Like I said, there were no banning orders. When I got nicked in 84, I think I got nicked again in 87. You know, banning orders, you got a fine and that was it, you know. So the deterrent wasn't there. All of a sudden, you've been taken away from the passion and the thing that you love. I mean, that last one I got was 8 years.
And what do you think that was? Why do you think in the 80s, to a large extent, violence was almost semi-tolerated at football matches? It then dips in the 90s, but it becomes more high profile for police, for politicians.
Yeah, they just seemed to publish every single thing, didn't they? And like, well, you know more than anybody, England away, it was just accepted and actually probably prompted almost to do this. It sells papers, doesn't it? You know, and I do believe a lot of that. I mean, you've seen it. My England career wasn't, I went every now and then sort of away games, but you must have seen it. They want it to go, don't they? You know what I mean?
There was definitely a political agenda, wasn't it? I mean, it
absolutely, mate.
started Italian 90, Colin Moynihan.
Yeah.
He was the one who was sort of in task, wasn't he, with making sure there was no trouble at the tournament, which there was, but it seemed to be, funnily enough, sort of buried under the carpet a little bit, you know, and then English clubs were back into Europe.
Yeah.
But
95 at Lansdowne Road.
95
I wasn't there myself, obviously, but...
that became a big political issue. In fact, another one, really, where there's an awful lot of misreporting, because having been at Lansdowne Road in 1995, if you Google that now, it tells stories of Combat 18, groups or whatever. But, I mean, maybe I was naive, but I can't remember seeing anybody of that ilk there. All I saw was just normal lads who go to the football.
Yeah, football lads,
The situation in Ireland was tense at the time, wasn't it?
Absolutely, Do you think it's an easy way, Justin, to just chuck the races combat 18 and whatever.
I think it probably was at the time.
And the Moyahans of this world, it's easy to bat it away, saying this wasn't football fans, and I think there was a lot of that going on. Surely,
I think there must have been, definitely. I mean, like I said, you can only speak as you find.
Yeah, that's right.
Thinking back to the 90s, and I remember coming back and being horrified with the headline, which is literally trying to tar everybody with this same brush. I remember one of the tabloids at the time, it showed a flag up at Lansdowne Road. It just had the West Ham, the irons there, and they were trying to make out that was some sort of symbology.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Just absolutely ludicrous. I mean, no doubt there were some.
For sure.
Right. But we're talking a minority, and yet the press made it out to be a majority.
It was convenient for them, wasn't it? That was the thing. And I think it has been that way all the way through, Justin, personally.
Correct. I mean, coming from a city as we do, where I'm proud to say very little racism amongst the football scene, certainly that I've seen.
Yeah, I'd say none. I've never seen any, certainly not at the football, never, not at all.
And to be sort of, to be tarring people with a brush like that when the problem doesn't even exist. Very good.
You're almost making a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then again, I think we've seen in recent years media manipulation. We lived through the last 3 years. We've seen what the media can do.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Yeah, ain't we just?
What they can do and what they fail to do as well.
Yeah.
So how many lads from Coalville are going to football at this time?
At the 90s, 8 to 10 probably. Yeah, I would say. 2 cars. Put it at 2 cars. Not on a regular, and then even later in the 90s, we got even more. We got even more lads, some younger ones coming up. As you I won't name them, but you knew them. You know them very well. So yeah, we always had a good core from Coalville. Always did. And like you touched on earlier, we were never chastised for not being, from Leicester. Never. I've never ever seen it once. It was all good. It was all under one umbrella. Really?
Like you say, in a way, looking back, that was a little bit unique because there was animosity with other areas.
And
I mean, look, I might be speaking out of turn, but everybody knows there was animosity between lads from Leicester and Hinckley at the time.
Yeah, that was...
It actually got quite nasty in the early 90s. It did indeed.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have some mutual friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
LY, he was sort of part of that. One in particular.
Yeah.
But he wasn't part of that, but there was definitely animosity there.
There was,
with Coalville there.
And there never was.
Never was.
And I'll never know the reasons, Justin, to be fair. Like I say, we just come in, had a good old drink and done whatever come our way sort of thing, really.
Probably down to integration, Daz, really.
Yeah, quite possibly, mate.
Do you want to be integrated or do you want to be seen to be doing your own thing, which will always get other people?
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah, you can't... And I think there was a lot of the Hinckley lads as well, weren't there? Whereas Coalville probably wasn't so many at one point. There would be 20-odd Hinckley lads coming over, wouldn't there? And, so it's probably always going to happen, I suppose, isn't it, really?
Possibly.
But yeah, we was okay.
All water under the bridge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's some of the best lads going, the Hinckley lot.
Absolutely.
I've always said that. They're a quality bunch, the Hinckley fellas. And like I say, in the later 90s, we used to go with Hinckley lads as well. We did quite a few trips with them, really. So
now thinking of the Coalville lads, we've got to mention one.
Oh yeah.
Sadly no longer with us.
Oh yeah, the big lad. Yeah.
Definitely. Big Oz.
Yeah, oh mate, what a fella. He meant everything to me, as you know, Justin. I will not get upset. He was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding. He's godfather to our Nathan. He was just an all-round, just top quality fella. He really was. And I know it's easy to say because people have said it about other people. He's unique, and Ozzy was. He was really unique. He didn't give a shiny shite about anybody. He didn't. And he always used to say this, and you might have heard him, I only need 5. I only need 5 mates. I don't need anybody else. And in the end, he kept to that, and he got an heart of gold. He really had got an heart of gold. In fact, 2 or 3 months before he passed, the doctor, the consultant, says to him, if it weren't for your heart's beating like a lion, you'd have been gone a long time ago. So that tells you everything you need to know. But
do you want to elaborate on sort of what caused it?
Yeah, it was the old drink. And I can see when I've seen it at close hand, because we looked after him, he didn't want care. Ozzy didn't want care, but my wife, Carol, is a worker in the community. Her sisters are. So we got a lot of people around us to look after him, and we did it between us, to be fair. And I've seen it at close hand. Don't get me wrong, Justin, I love my drinking, you know I do. But I can see how easy it is to probably go to that next level. And Ozzy went that next level, bless him, and I miss him every single day, as most people in Coalville do, because he was such a character. He was funny as well, you know, sharp as a knife. Yeah. He really was, sharp as a knife.
Always had a smile on his face.
Oh, always, yeah. He's got that stupid, childish grin that he took to the grave of him, really. And yeah,
funny,
like
I was driving here today and I was just thinking about him, and it just put a smile on my face.
Yeah,
just not actually thinking about any stories, just thinking about him.
Yeah.
His presence in the room.
If you only met Ozzy once, and this is a good character reference for him, bless him, you never forgot him. You never ever forgot Ozzy. And he was a big lad, and he'd fight any man. He really would. He would never shy back. He hadn't got a backward step. He really hadn't. But also, what run concurrent with that, he was a soft, gentle giant. He really would do anything for anybody. He loved my family. He did, and he'd do anything for my family. And yeah, he's one of life's characters, and he'll never be forgotten by anybody who ever met him. He really won't.
And how long since we lost him now, Dad?
It's 3 years, 3 years, yeah. We have a little drink every year, obviously. Yeah. And yeah, it's
so important never to forget these people.
Oh no, Nicky, we can't forget them. We can't forget them. I lost my dad in 2013, and that was a massive kick of the... and then Ozzy, I'd say he passed just after, and it, you know, just a double blow, really, but...
Okay, well, going back to family then, Daz. So we're at the 1990s. As you said, you're enjoying your football, you're mixing with the lads, you're going home and away, but there are a few problems. The police are a little bit of attention, that inevitably...
I'm getting a lot of attention now, to be fair. I've been arrested a few times. I'm on my second banning order by the time 96 comes, after the Euros. So, 96, 97. So then... The policing at football was different, and it was more on top, weren't it, for everybody. So I'm getting some attention, and rightly so. So I did try and stay out of the way of it, and I think I did successfully for quite a few years. But there's always that scenario, isn't it? If you're going to keep going to the football, and people outside of football will not understand this for one single minute, and I don't expect anybody to. You're always one corner away from confrontation, or you was then. It's not so bad these days, is it? But and in many incidents, we never went looking for it. At that sort of time, I was trying to keep out of the way. I didn't want another banning order because I knew what would come in, and jail would come, and as it did. But you couldn't actually 100% keep yourself out of it, and it was just one of them things, really, and everybody's in the same boat. But I was getting quite a bit of attention at then, because you're everywhere. They're thinking, there's that Coalville lad's here again. What's he doing? You know, he smarted himself up. He had a punk haircut last time I was here. and that's never changed, really, Justine, to be fair. They've always had their eye on certain people, as you know yourself. But
so they've got this escalation then of sort of police interest, shall we say? Yeah. That then leads to arrest. Yeah. As you said, unfortunately, that leads to court appearances. What sort of effect then is this now having upon?
It is having an effect. Of course, it is. No, because you're coming home some nights and you've got a good hiding, and then worse, you're having to make the phone calls from the police station. You know what I mean? So it's bound to have an effect. But Carol stuck by me for everything, and made it easy for me, really, in many ways, I suppose. But like I've always said, I've never been the sort to go out nightclubbing and doing all that caper. Football's been my thing, football, punk rock, and that's all I really do, really. You know, I mean, every other thing I do, I'm always with the wife. We do everything together, really, and always have done, for the exception of football.
Of the football, yeah.
Even the punk gigs, she'll come to the punk gigs with me, especially when I was in the band. She rarely missed. Yeah, I think she was quite proud of me, actually, at some gigs. Not sure why, but... yeah, so like we're solid, me and our Carol, you know that. There were a few years, I'm sure she should have probably said, I've had enough of this. But she didn't. It's a strong marriage, ain't it?
Absolutely.
You know, got a little boy as well around about that time as well. So, yeah, we saw through it. And I did chuck the towel in, or I thought I had. But like I say, it's only just round the corner. It really is only just round the corner. And obviously Coventry come in it. And
So this was the Coventry away fixture in what year?
2008, was it? 2008. We was all in Earlsdon and they come to us. We've gone out the pub. I actually didn't do a lot that day, Justin, to be fair. In fact, you could clearly see it on the CCTV. I hadn't done anything. But they got it in for me. Yeah, they got it in for me.
So more to do with what's happened previously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the second or third court appearance, a local Bobby, Coventry, said to me, you were on the Danny Dyer thing, weren't you, the football factor? I says, yeah. And he said something along the lines of, well, I'll be able to write to you when you're in prison then, because that's where you're going, mate. And I think I knew the die had cast there, really, you know.
Always nice to have a fair and just legal system.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Long may it continue. But yeah, there's a lot of lads, to be fair, got jailed for that and hadn't done an awful lot. I think it was, certainly, without naming people, it was who they was, really. It was easy nicks for them. Easy.
And what sentence did you get, Daz?
I think it's just six months, weren't it? Yeah, quick shit shower and shave, but it's still your liberty, isn't it? You know, and an 8-year banning order.
8-year banning order.
Yeah, we've got an 8 for that banning order. Yeah. So yeah, that was a massive crimp because I'd packed it all in. I'd packed it in, but it just, you know, it just lured me in.
So of that 8-year banning order,
yeah.
Did you have to serve the full 8 years?
No, we've done 7. We had to go and appeal. So that's when we took the pub on. Because it was Carol's idea, actually, that my local pub had come up for lease. They'd had 1 or 2 landlords and landladies in, and Carol said to me, we'll have a go at this. We should do this. And I thought, well, I've got no football for 8 years, so I'll probably need something, you know. And we did. We took it on, and we did. I'm bragging probably, but we did a good job, really. Do you know what I mean? It was busy. But it just hit me overnight. This is not for me. And I don't know what it was, and I can't explain. I couldn't explain to Carol, so I was certainly not going to be able to explain to anybody else. It just hit me overnight. This ain't for me. It took me 2 years. I just thought, I can't do it anymore. I'm a bit naive, really, Justin, to think that the pub industry was just going in, clocking in and clocking out. Because it certainly isn't. It's anything but that. And I felt trapped a little bit. And we wasn't trapped. We had some good times in there, and we were making some good dough, really. And then I just said, well, no, I've had enough.
I suppose it's seven days a week.
It is 7 days. It's 24/7, mate. It is. And like I say, I was a tad naive, really, to think that it wasn't. You know, I've spent my life in pubs, in that pub, in fact. And, yeah, it's just it's quite the opposite to what I thought. But
so what was Carol's opinion when you sort of...
Yeah, she didn't like it at all. She wanted to carry it on, and she still does, to be fair. She's always looking at opportunities to have another go, which I'll never say never. I wouldn't never say never. It had to be the right sort of place and the right project, you know, and I'd never say never. She'd be over the moon if we did it again, because we did make a good job of it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a good team behind that bar.
Well, I went out there a couple of times.
Yeah, you did, mate, yeah. And I must admit, I was supported very well by all the lads. I mean, from Leicester to Swannington, that's a good way, that is, you know, to come, and they all come over, and, you know, Chapo used to come there every weekend.
Yeah.
He used to get the knock on the door with Lee, you know what I mean? It's 9:30 in the morning, mate. It's Sunday. What's going on, Lee?
I was in Brisbane, isn't it?
Yeah, he still comes up. He does FaceTime me quite regularly. He still keeps in touch.
Good lad.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He's a good heart, Lee, to be fair.
So you've got this banning order.
Yeah.
It comes to an end.
Yeah.
Is this sort of the band comes to an end and the pub comes to an end?
It's not
pretty much.
No, not quite actually. I think I've still got a couple of years left on the banning order. So I've got myself another job which is the same job I'm in now, actually. Still doing the same job, just labouring and that. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It's near my house and everything. And just got my head down, and then the banning order finished. And I went back, and I've been home and away pretty much every game since. Done all the European games, obviously. Didn't miss any of them. But I am definitely out of it. You know, nothing will get me back. I'm too old, 58. I broke my leg, didn't I, a year and a half ago. And I struggle some days to, you know, Sunday. If I've been a good away game, we've been out all night, the next day I'm in no shape at my age, 58. So,
Yeah.
But I'll never stop going football, I never will. I can't. It's what I love. I love it. So,
And how would you compare football now to how it was? Because I get asked this question a lot about England away matches. And I say the way to look at it is that was then, this is now. Enjoy now for now, enjoy the past for the past.
Yeah, that's a great description.
If you put it as a direct comparison.
No, you can't.
You're always going to draw a negative conclusion.
It's not just football that's changed, Justin, is it? Everything's changed. Everything's changed. Correct. So football's going to change. I'm not keen on the new model, if I'm honest. The VAR and all that, you know, that's sport as a fan, especially when you're away, because you know if you score, you never just celebrate or not, do you?
That's right,
and that was part of it.
Yeah.
Going absolutely bonkers, weren't it? You know. And
I remember Nations League semi-final in Portugal the other year. I think it was 82nd minute, Lingard puts England 2-1 up. You know, we're all celebrating.
Yeah.
Next minute, VAR. It dragged on for ages. It was myself, Jeff and Tom. Claire was texting me. She's like, you know, it shouldn't be like that. You know,
no, absolutely.
You know,
no.
Ridiculous.
And do you think, and this is just my opinion, obviously, the VAR, when it first come into play, I thought at least the element of doubt is going to disappear. But it hasn't.
No.
It's still that doubt.
That's right.
So really, again, it's only my opinion. Let's scrap the VAR. Let's just... Well, it ain't in the Championship, is it? So we'll have a little look at that this season sort of thing. But, just everything's not quite as it was, is it really? But, like you say...
Well, I just find these days modern football... I mean, it's just the amount of stats. I mean, they leave me cold half the time. You know? Okay, I'll go with goals. I'll go with assists to a certain point. But after that, it's...
Do we need to know that? We don't need
Absolutely.
to know that.
It just starts to merge into one, you know.
We don't need to know any of that, to be truthful. So, yeah.
So, we're into the sort of 2000s now.
Yeah.
And then the punk rears its head again.
It never went away. It never went away. Like I say, I've always... gone to punk gigs, Rebellion Festival in Blackpool every year, the biggest punk festival in the world. Me and Carol go every year. And then, there were the Tennysons, Max. He's a good lad, Max. Do you know Max?
No, I know the family, obviously.
Yeah. So, you've got the Tennysons. Me and Max and Ryan's in the Tennysons, yeah.
No, I did meet Max that time we went to Belfast.
Yes, oh my God, yeah.
That's another podcast on its own, I think, so... Yeah.
We'll come back and do that one, won't we? Yeah, so me and Max, it's his during my band, because we're going to... I drove up to Scarborough to watch Coalville Town, because we could go and watch Coalville. I still do, Justin, to be fair, I still watch Coalville. Leicester takes preference, obviously, but I still go and watch Coalville quite regular. We went to Scarborough, and we were talking, I got the punk on in, because he's quite a bit into the punk scene. Max, very young, a lot younger than me, obviously. And he says, you can play the drums, can't you, Daz? I says, yeah, I can. Yeah, it's been a long time, but I can play them. And he said, we should
how long?
How long since I've been on the drums?
Yeah.
Well, when I had the pub, actually, somebody lent me a kit.
No, not too bad.
Yeah, so not too bad. But prior to that, it's probably 20 years.
Yeah.
So somebody lent me a kit of drums, because upstairs in the pub there were 6 or 7 rooms. So I thought that'd be nice, you know, just after I've done my cleaning in the morning with my mop, I'll go on the drums for an hour or so. So anyway, so I was quite fresh. He said, we should do a band. I said, I'd do that any day, yeah, but, you know, especially now, you know, something to do sort of thing. And he says, I'll ask Ryan, if Ryan Dunn, if he fancies it. Because they were in the Tennysons, and they said we could do... So then Trav, he's been in punk bands for quite some time, the Nags, etc. So we rung him. He goes, yeah, I'll do it. And I didn't think for 1 minute he would. But a few weeks later, we was at a wedding, and I'm not sure. It might have even been Trav's wedding, you know, I can't remember. We were at the Knots Club, I can't quite remember whose wedding it was. So there's me, Max, Ryan, and Trav in the same room, so we decided to do it there and then. So next Tuesday, we'll meet up here and we'll blah, blah, blah. I went to the recording studio and rehearsal rooms, and yeah. And then what happened after that, really, was just absolutely amazing.
So how does it proceed from there? You're in the rehearsal.
We're in the rehearsal rooms, and that's as far as I ever thought it would go, to be honest. Again, how wrong was I? And obviously you've got to remember that there's Max and Ryan, they're in a band already, so they're au fait with this industry, shall we say. Trav also. I'm not. So we're putting a few things together. After about 3 or 4 rehearsals, we recorded 2 songs. I know, the hell's going on here? Recording? So we did it and we turned it out, and lo and behold, we put it out as an EP, and it sold relatively well. I mean, you wouldn't have heard it on Top of the Pops or anything, obviously. So we thought, yeah, this is all right.
No bad thing.
No, it's just not a bad thing. Quite the opposite. So yeah, and then we kept rehearsing. We got his first gig at the Airy Dog in Derby, which is quite a known place. It's not Madison Square Gardens, by no stretch of the imagination, but it's a well-known sort of place. So we went in there, we took a coach load over there, we was first on the bill, obviously, and we did relatively well. Got some good plaudits, actually, and we started getting more gigs, bigger gigs. So then we said, Trav and the lads said, shall we record an album? Shall we get some tracks down and do an album? And I thought, this is pie in the sky stuff, it really is. This is never going to work. Within 12 months, we got 9, 10, 11 tracks, or whatever it was, and we went into the recording studio and we recorded an album, which sold quite well under the circumstances. And what obviously come with that is bigger gigs, obviously. So now I'm in an old world of pain I don't understand. You know, I don't get this. I really don't. So, but I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I love playing live. It's a great feeling. It really is. And then the most incredible thing happened. Well, for me, Trav rung me. I was at work, and he said, "You're not going to believe this." I said, "Well, what's up, bro? What's up?" Because we've been asked to play at Rebellion, which again, it's the biggest punk festival in the world. I goes, yeah, right, mate. And he goes, Daz, I'll put the phone down, I'll send you the email. And I rung Carol straight away. I said, you're not going to believe where we asked to play, and she got it straight away. So, yeah, we played there. That was in the August. We played there. And you've known me a long time, Justin. I'm not nervous by no stretch of the imagination, and nothing really phases me too much. But that did. That really did. Because the drummer goes on first to set his little bits and bobs up. Yeah. And I just looked out at the crowd and I thought, are they going to leave in a minute because we're on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Surely they're not here for us. And I was physically shaking, putting me cymbals on, screwing my cymbals on. So the stage hand, what they call him, or drum tech, whatever you want to call him, he says, "You all right, mate?" I went, "Oh, you're all right, to be fair." He goes, "Yeah, get this, have a beer." He says, "You must be doing something well, you lads, because they're all here to see you, and I reckon there'll be just shy of 2,000 people out there." And I wish you hadn't told me that.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. It is for me. We've been playing in front of like 100.
Yeah.
And it did get bigger, obviously. And we smashed it. We really did. We went down really, really well. And then the following year, we'd had some gigs in between. They asked us back the second year. And it was, when did we play? It was a Saturday night. Yeah, it was. Or was it the Friday? No, it was the Friday. A bigger arena, a bigger. And it just went on and on and on, Justin, really. Then we released another album, which is the better out of the two, in my opinion. We'd done some gigs abroad, played in Holland, Stockholm, Germany, but we didn't get to play in Germany because of COVID. They cancelled that. And it was just off the scale. We was getting gigs, and then to be fair,
And how do you get these gigs down?
Right, it really is word of mouth. It really is. I mean, as you can imagine, the punk scene it's not massive, although it is quite big, but it's not on the level of most genres, shall we say. Although it's bigger than you would think, especially in Europe. So you just get the offer to play there, and the money's not, I'm not saying the money's that good either, but when you're in a punk band, you don't do it for that. But I forgot to mention, Ryan left prior to the Rebellion gig because he he were concentrating on another project. Gazelle, obviously, which are fantastic, mate. Gazelle, as I'm sure
They
you're
are
aware,
indeed, yeah.
they're fantastic, mate. Really good. Ryan's very, very talented. He really is. Can do anything. So then we got a Kevin, a lad we'd known from the punk scene anyway. He's a good punk guitarist, to be fair. So yeah, he was going good guns, and I think we were ready for the next level. I do. I think for like touring, you know, it's all right doing individual gigs, but to go on a tour, and I think we was about ready for that. And then Bosch, Trav, just rung me one day because I've had enough, Daz, which is about a year ago, probably not a year. Says, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, bro. What, you know, can we just have a chat about it? Or what? But he was adamant. I won't go into the reasons. That's not. It's not fair on anybody. But yeah, so that's where we are. I'm still crazy into punk. I'm still doing gigs, going to gigs myself. I'm not going Rebellion this year because we've been relegated. It's the first game of the season, isn't it? Coventry. Oh dear. We'll leave that one there. So I can't go this year, but I could go on the Friday, I suppose.
But your drumming days are over then, Daz?
Well, never say never.
No.
The right offer, the right paycheck. I would. You've got to remember, 58 as well. And it does. If we done his own gig at the Emporium in Coalville, I think it's about 350 people turned up there, which is all good. And we done like an hour set, and I know I've done that because you can imagine the drums quite. It's quite hectic. But yeah, I'd do it again. But the thing with B Squadron, it was my mates, and that meant a lot to me. I mean, we all know Trav and known Trav years from down the football. Max and Ryan were friends, still are, obviously, and that was the thing for me. And this is me and my mates going on a gig in Leeds or a gig in Brixton, and this is good. This is my mates. Whether I could enjoy it the same way, you soon get mates. Of course you do. You know, yeah. I never say never, definitely not. But it can't interfere with the football too much. That's another thing, which I held the band back a little bit because of that, I think. I said, well, I can't really do that gig because, you know, we're...
But that's you, Daz.
Yeah, that's right. And we always said, look, we'll work around you. And they did, to be fair to them. So, yeah, but never say never. Definitely never say never.
Well, we're coming to the end of the podcast, Daz. Yeah. So how do you see the future for Coalville Daz?
Coalville Town. Right.
Yourself.
Yeah. Coalville Daz, yeah. More of the same, Justin, really. I don't like change. I never have. If I do anything, I generally do it 100% and stick with it. The wife, the punk, the football. I don't like change, so it's been more of the same, really, for me. I love my away days, absolutely love them. We're on the PM tours now, as you know. Pick me up, I can walk to where the bus picks me up, have a few beers. We have a lot of beers. We see different places. We generally stop now before because obviously the police don't like you going into certain towns with a double-decker bus, obviously, for the obvious reasons. Things like that have changed. But, yeah, just keep on keeping on, mate. You know what I mean? While we can. Because we're not here forever, are we?
We're not.
You know,
indeed, yeah.
And just be happy.
And what do you see Leicester City doing
right,
next
that's the million-dollar question, mate, ain't it? I went away, I've just come back, as you know, from Rhodes. When I went away, I was very, very depressed about the whole relegation thing, Justin. I really was, like many. I thought I wanted answers, you know, because we put a lot of time and effort into this club. I very rarely miss a game, and there was no answers coming out of the club. There was, you know, why are we in this position? Why have we gone down? Nobody's too good to go down. Not saying that for 1 minute. But the new manager's in place. I'm going to go every game anyway, so I'm on board, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm on board. And I think we'll be all right, you know. The 2 signings so forth. Good.
Encouraging?
Good. I think so, yeah. Very encouraging, yeah. So, yeah, I think we'll be okay, mate. I think we'll be okay. But I'll be there no matter what. It doesn't matter, does it, really? Well, it does. We all want to be in that Premier League because that's the best league, isn't it? You know, we want to be in there, and we should be in there. But you ain't got a divine right to be there.
But your club's your club, and away days.
Absolutely. Oh, mate. Absolutely. And I do still get excited the night before a away game. I do, honestly. I'm not ashamed of that. And if you should have incredible highs watching your football team and incredible lows. Well, we've had the highs and we've just had the lows, but we'll tap the knocks and just go back again. And like I say, I'm sure we'll be all right. I trust the chairman. I do trust the chairman. I met him in Belgium, you know, that was nice. Yeah, I showed him my Fiji tattoo on my leg, and he couldn't quite believe that. I don't think he can believe the whole situation, to be truthful. But yeah, we'll be good, mate. We'll be good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Daz, thanks ever so much for being our first guest on the show.
Thanks, mate.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate being asked, mate, honestly.
Some great stories.
Yeah. Well, I'll do another one because I've got another load of stories, mate.
We'll have to. Thanks very much, Daz.
Hey, thanks, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Top man. Thank you.